Coming up on Authentically Real today.
What do you need to study to be a management consultant? More or less, how much does one earn?
I told you, perfectionism.
Yes! Hi beautiful people, welcome back to Authentically Real with your girl Namatam Mafundisi, aka Noms. Welcome back to the returning subscribers. Hi to the new subscribers. And hi to those of you who have not subscribed. Why? Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Guys, today we have a guest. We have a long-awaited guest, guys. This lady has been... It's about time. She's been on my little YouTube book. For those of you who don't know, I have this YouTube book where I write like my future collabs. She's been on my YouTube book and we're finally meeting.
2 years later, guys.
2 years later.
2 years later.
2 years later. Hi Rorisang, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good, thanks to you. So guys, today we have Rorisang Mawohwane. Please check out her channel on YouTube.
A speaker, YouTuber, Allan Gray Orbis Foundation Fellow, and the Financial Director and Vice Chairperson of Where You Are Able Foundation.
Phenomenal. She is absolutely... She's doing the most, guys. She's someone you need to follow. If you're interested in this type of content, I promise you, you'll be interested in her type of content. So please check her out. Speaking everything management consulting, I'm about to learn a whole lot. We're going to learn about her. We're going to learn about her journey, exactly what it is, how to get into it, what to study, an estimate of salaries, more or less. So we're going to get into that, guys. We're just going to have like a conversation about every single thing that you can think of management consulting. I first want to start with, where are you from? Like, where are you from? How did you grow up? What led you to study or to choose a specific degree that you chose? Yes.
Okay. So born and bred in Johannesburg. That is my home. And I have basically always been strong in the commerce field, right?
Okay.
So growing up, your EMSs, I was really good at that. In high school, I took accounting as a module. I took science as well. So I took that trio that everyone hates, the biology, accounting, and physics. I took that. Don't ask me how I made it, but I made it.
I was like a trauma from physics. Into physics, I'm like,
listen, don't ask me how I made it. But to be honest, I know this is gonna sound cliche, but how I got here is really because of God's direction. I didn't know what I wanted to study. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I was in high school. So I chose subjects based on, the doors that trio could open for me. So I knew I could go into, medicine. I could go into science. I could go into accounting. I could go into anything with the modules, with the subjects I chose, right? And then I got to matric. I realized I hated physics and maths. And I was just like, I'm not trying to do that.
It's a no.
So what I did, I applied to all the universities in South Africa. And I wanted to go to WITS, but what I had applied for at WITS was science-related stuff, health science stuff. And I was just like, no. So that's when I decided to do finance, because I knew I wanted commerce, but I come from a very strong commerce family. Both my parents are in the commerce field, and then my cousins, aunts, and so I was just like, I want to do commerce, but everyone is an accountant. So I don't want to go into accounting, right? So what can I do? And finance is then what I stumbled upon. So my undergrad was a BCom finance, and then I went on to do a BCom honors in investment management.
Then I wanted to, while I was reading your bio, I saw the Allan Gray Orbis Foundation. This is something I've heard a lot, and I'm sure maybe some of my viewers could be a part of that. But what exactly is that? Maybe for someone who's in high school, because I do have a lot of viewers that are in high school. What is that? How can a person get into that? How did that help you, form you? What exactly is that?
Okay, so the Allan Gray Orbis Foundation is, in layman's terms, it's a bursary.
Okay.
Right? They cover everything.
Okay.
From books to allowance to everything, right? Their motto is, that they want to create high impact entrepreneurs that will make an impact in society. That you go for networking, you go for conferences, master classes. Always tell you, apply, guys. The worst they can say is no. Guys, just apply.
You said you studied BCom finance and then you went on to
BCom honors in investment management.
Okay. I wanted to ask, what made you decide, okay, management consulting? Or maybe before we get to that, what did you understand management consulting? Like, what did you understand? What is that? What is it? How do I get into it? What was that for you before, or let me see, after you graduated?
You're gonna laugh at what I'm about to say. I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
Until I got in. And I was like, oh, so this is what I applied for. I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
So basically I had the same dilemma. After high school, I didn't know what I wanted to study. Went into something that made the most sense.
Okay.
After varsity, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Because with the degree that I did, I could go into portfolio management, financial management, asset management. I could be an investment banker. I could do a lot of that stuff, and that's what a lot of my peers went on to do.
Yeah.
But I was just like, no, man. So I then went and looked for positions that had my degree. Okay. Anything that had my degree, whatever it was, whether it was financial services, I was just like, anything with my degree, I'm applying. I think I applied to over 60.
Do you see what I'm saying, guys? Shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot.
The worst they could say is no.
I applied to over 60 places when looking for my first job. It was, guys, and it wasn't the peak of COVID. We're here. Self-studying this side. You're looking for jobs this side. But I don't regret that. And I think it was a God-ordained thing for me to stumble upon management consulting. As much as I didn't know what it was when I went in, I learned a lot when I finally got in. Okay. So in layman's terms, management consulting is solving problems for businesses.
Wait, is that it?
In layman's terms. Okay. That's the simplest way I can explain it.
You make it sound so nice, like I'm just solving problems.
You're solving problems?
Yeah, what are you solving problems?
I promise it's not that glamorous, but you are. In the biggest scheme of things, you're solving problems for businesses. That's essentially what it is.
Okay.
But I didn't know that until after.
Oh, until you got in.
Till I got in.
Okay, so then what does a day-to-day management consultant do? What does it look like for you? Because I hear you say you're a problem solver, but I feel like I still want to understand, like,
what do we do?
What do you do? Like, you get there and then what problem are you solving, you know?
So this is obviously specific to whatever project you're on, right? Okay. So there are different, and I think this is why I loved starting my career in management consulting. There are so many different industries that you're exposed to, right? So if you're on a mining project, there are certain, things that you'll be solving problems for. Economics, we have an economics team. We have the payment transformation team, which is where I am. We have a financial services team. And all of these different teams work with clients that have specific problems. So I will hone in on what I do.
Absolutely.
So that I can give the most meat. So payment transformation is essentially transforming the way we do payments.
Okay.
We know that we're going digital. We're no longer using cash. We're using apps now and all of that stuff. So we are working with financial institutions to make it better for South Africans.
Interesting.
Right? So that's what we do. So a client will come to us and say, hey, listen, I want to build an instant payment system.
Okay.
That will help person-to-person, transactions. Or maybe I want to offer it to my Spaza shop clients, right? Okay. So that they don't have to worry about change when someone comes and buys bread.
Okay.
So then we'll sit with them from the beginning. Okay, this is what you're trying to build.
Yeah.
We look at the different components of that. You're going to need to work with regulators from a legal perspective. You're going to have to build technically. You're going to have to brand this properly. You're going to have to train people who will be using it. And then we work with all those different components to help you get to your final destination and your product, right? So there's a lot of research.
Okay.
A lot of research.
Is that why you were saying you always had to Google?
You always have to Google stuff, you know. If you don't know what she's talking about, go to my channel.
Go to her channel.
The video
We
will
just
be
did a
up.
video.
Always learning. You're learning about the different regulations.
I like what you're saying because it seems like you guys aren't boxed.
No.
I don't want to say with audit, but I feel like we are a bit boxed.
This is what
procedures. This is what we need to do. I feel like with you guys, you're taught to think
outside
the box.
That's
you're
exactly what they are.
Actually, literally solve problems.
Yeah.
Okay, so would you say management consulting is the exact same as what you learned in varsity?
I have not used my degree in my life.
Rorisang.
And I mean this, I don't mean it, I don't want to sound funny, right? The terminology that we were exposed to in varsity, that I can leverage. But you learn every day on the job.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So the background information or knowledge, whether you have it or not, it's not a train smash. Like I mentioned, there are engineers, there are lawyers, we are all working on the same projects. We can't all know what do they call them? I can't remember. General ledger. They're not all gonna know that stuff. Absolutely. You know what I mean? I don't know your pulleys and your levers from. Yeah, I don't know that stuff. You know what I mean? So a lot of it is on the job. Okay. So even if you come in and you feel like you know nothing, best believe we all don't know anything.
Okay. So did you feel like in terms of like, you know, management consulting, was there a lot of guidance like when you first stepped into the job, when you first got there, like, you know, were they showing you the ropes or were you just thrown in the deep, you need to figure out how to swim, you know?
So I was grateful enough so I don't know if your firms do this, but I, at my firm, they pair you up with a buddy who's either a year ahead of you or 2 years ahead of you, who has kind of walked that journey, right? And I'm grateful that my buddy and I actually built such a great relationship that she's actually my work bestie now. Like if she's gonna watch this, she's gonna know I'm talking about her, you know. So she was able to hold my hand through my entire, you know, onboarding journey, finding my feet and all of that. And I genuinely appreciate that because management consulting is very fast paced, right? It is. I've mentioned before in other videos that it's an over glamorized career or profession to be in because all you guys see is the travel, the fashion, the presentations.
Absolutely.
Guys, there's a lot of getting your hands dirty with management consulting, and if you don't have a solid support structure, you're gonna find yourself feeling very overwhelmed. You know, so make sure that you have someone at work who you can ask questions on the side to be like, you know, I'm facing this, how do I navigate it? But also at home, you know, I remember with the first project that I was on when I started, my grandmother, so I was still living at home and my grandmother was visiting, and she felt so sorry for me because she was just like, my child, you can resign, it's okay. Like in Stana, she'd be like, Baleso Kangwanaka, please. And I was like, so she was also ready to be like, pack your bags and leave, you know. So it's gruesome, I won't lie. You know, consulting is a very nice, it has a nice culture in the sense that you can always ask questions. Okay. If you did something wrong, there's a cushion before it even gets to the partner. So you're good.
Okay. Yeah. Then another question I wanted to ask that I feel like a lot of people want to know is, what do you need to study to be a management consultant? Like, I heard what you studied, but I want to know, can other people with different degrees get into that same field that you got into?
People always think I'm lying when I answer this question. There isn't a specific degree. Okay. This isn't like audit where you have to do, you know, accounting, then CTA, whatever. There's so many people from so many different academic backgrounds in consulting, right? We are working with qualified doctors, we're working with lawyers, we're working with engineers, we're working with people like myself in the commerce field, we're working with people who did BA degrees in social something, whatever, you know. So there isn't a specific, you need to study this, don't study this. Obviously, when you come in as a graduate, there are preferred qualifications, but even if you didn't study those, one thing about me, I'll tell you to apply, guys. Apply.
You and I both.
Apply.
You're shut. The worst they could say is no.
Literally the worst they can say is no. So as a graduate, those are the type of degrees that they look at. But if you're coming in from industry, which is consulting term now, so if you're coming in from corporate, from any other corporate thing that isn't consulting, you don't necessarily have anything that is stopping you from being a consultant. Right? So you can come in as a chiropractor of 6 years and say, listen, I want to work in the healthcare space in your consulting. People who studied engineering, a lot of them work with our mining and energy, people. If you studied economics and, like myself, finance and investments, you find yourself within the finance stream.
Okay, so I think you've literally nailed it, because I think a lot of people will, even myself, I used to get confused, like is it mainly for like the commerce people? Do we only get en route? But then the one time I heard someone say they did engineering and they're a management consultant, and I'm like, what is happening? Is this? What is going on? So I think you answered this beautifully, and this one is a bit of a, I don't want to say a touchy one, but I know people get a bit dicey with this one, and I'm not expecting you to disclose your payslip. Okay. But what, as an entry-level management consultant, as a fresh graduate, give us an estimate, more or less. How much does one earn? An estimate. I'm not asking for your payslip before.
So I'm going to break this down into two, right? And I'm going to speak to the one that is relevant to me.
Absolutely.
So as a management consultant, you can either work in MBB firms, which is your McKinsey, your Bain, your BCG, right? Yeah. Those are like top tier management consulting firms. And then you can work for a big four, which is where I am, which is your PwCs, Deloitte's, KPMG, and EY, right? Okay, EY is not part of the big four anymore, but anyway, I digress. So MBB firms are known to pay way higher than someone who is, a big four consultant. MBB firms, but you will work for it. You work for that pay. You'll work for it. So I want to speak to the big four side, because that's obviously what I've been exposed to. So roughly when you start, and this is obviously firm dependent, I do know that you must shed maybe a couple of thousands, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 off my net for that. So coming in, you're looking at a gross of about between 300 and 320. Right? And I'm not sure how this compares to audit and trainees, but you're looking at about around 320.
This is just an estimate, so don't bank on it.
Don't bank on it. Please don't say Rory said, guys.
Rory said my salary should be.
Right? So you're looking at a take home of about 18, 19K starting out. And this is after deductions, after your medical aid, provident fund, and all of that stuff.
So my next question is, I know you did a video with I think it's Yolandi, about the pros and cons of management consulting.
I can talk forever here. Are you ready?
We want to hear the pros and the cons. And also, guys, you can check out, if you want like a full scope, you can check out both her channel and Yolandi's channel with regards to management consulting, if you want a full on scope about the pros and the whatevers. But I also want to touch base here, so let's go.
Okay, so I'll start with the pros. Number one, you have a very accelerated learning curve. You learn so quickly because it's not that you're thrown into the deep end, but you need to learn so quickly because a problem is here now. It's not, I mean, I haven't been exposed to how audit is, but in my head, it's you're reviewing financial statements and their notes and looking at what they do, right? So it's, I don't want to say it's routine, but you know what to expect, you know? Kind of, depending on the clients as well. In consulting, every day is a school day, so you're forced to learn quickly. And that's the biggest pro for me. Number two, you are surrounded by very intelligent people. So your network, you know that the foundation of your network when you start out, very intelligent people. Like they take top 10s. They take and I'm not scaring anyone who wants to go into this. Listen, once you get your foot in the door, you can finesse them when you get inside, you know. But we're the cream of the crop. Really, we are. And I don't mean to
glow
to
yeah.
anything, but that's what it is.
I
right?
love that.
Because you guys are putting your businesses in our hands.
Definitely.
Are you going to want someone that passes 20%?
Yeah, and who's just gonna...
No.
Yeah.
No. So they really are very meticulous about the people that they put, there. So you're surrounded by highly intelligent people. And also coming in, even your entry level salary, it's a bit higher than what you would normally get as an intern anywhere else, right? Interns in general, you're looking at about 10 or 12.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now you're on the further end of that spectrum. So the pay is quite decent. Which makes sense though, because I'll touch on it, when I talk to the cons, but it makes sense. The pay will make sense. And another pro that I can think of is the community that you build, right? Because you don't just build a community internally, but with your clients as well. Because you guys, in consulting, you are rubbing shoulders with CEOs. You're rubbing shoulders with execs of companies, So the exposure to not just subject matter, but also the people, is really, really, really good. And the collaboration globally is one that I'll put in the hedge as well, because we're global firms. I know I can pick up the phone and call someone in Malaysia, someone in Canada, and say, listen, I don't know what to do, help me, and that's great. I think also from a if you want to expand yourself globally, because it's a global network, you're able to go and find yourself. I think you're going to ask me about it a bit later. We'll touch on it. But you have exposure to the global network. And I think that's really, really good as well. If you see yourself beyond the walls of South Africa.
Absolutely.
So those are a lot of the pros. Things like paying for bursaries, guys. A lot of companies do that, so I'm not going to dwell on those things. But the cons.
Are you guys ready? Dun dun dun.
And I promise I'm not saying this to scare anyone. I'm just being real, right?
I think that's the point, because we don't, some people go into corporate or whatever, and it's like people
have this idea.
Yeah, it's as if other people paint this glamorous picture, and it's like, but why didn't you guys say? Why didn't you say that the hours are crazy? Why didn't you say? So that's why I always want to touch base on both, so that we can get a clear picture and we can be as authentically real as possible.
Of course, yeah. So the hours are long. The hours are very long. A normal work day is about 12 hours. So that's one thing, and sometimes you have to work on weekends as well. So it is it's quite intense. But that makes sense. Like I mentioned in the pros, your salary is a bit higher because they know that they have to bribe you somehow. So so it is the hours are long, right? And depending on the firm that you're in as well, it's sometimes difficult to move between teams. I mentioned earlier on in the video that you can go to the mining partner and say you want to be on a project. Some partners in consulting are they don't like sharing, right? So you'll find that maybe the partner that you're working with doesn't want you to go and explore other horizons and stuff. So sometimes, the leadership, sometimes, I'm not saying all of them, I haven't been exposed to it, but I've heard of it, where you don't necessarily have that freedom sometimes. Once you find a family, you're in that family. But like I said, I'm able to talk and be wherever.
It's always like that.
So there's that. Also, the one thing that I don't like about consulting, that is a con, is that it's a perception game. People...
What does that mean?
You can only go for if people like you.
I feel like that's a lot...
That's... Corporate in general. So you might be very good at what you do, but you can only go so far, right? Unless if you're a favorite. I don't want to say it's a teacher's pet, but basically think of it as that.
In essence.
And then another con, I would say, is so in as much as consulting has a lot of exit opportunities.
Wait, before you say exit, what does that mean?
Exit opportunities are basically what you can do after you leave consulting.
Okay.
Right? So in as much as there's a lot of those, consulting kind of has this, we want to keep you here for as long as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, you can be here for 10 years. You want to move? Yeah. No, we're going to keep you, you know. Definitely outweigh the cons when it comes to consulting.
Okay.
Consulting is an incredible profession to go into, especially as someone like me who didn't know what they wanted to be, you know.
Yeah, I think you touched base on this, but I wanted to know in terms of international exposure, global exposure, what's that like? Besides, I don't want to be in South Africa anymore. I want to either move with the firm or go to a different management consultant company, whatever. Is it easy to maneuver? Is it easy to move to different locations in the world?
Okay, so I'll share the easier one first. So I mentioned that consulting, or a lot of the consulting houses are global houses, right? So you'll have offices all around the world. India, Canada, Australia, England, which is the most popular one, because I think we all know as South Africans we're all going to the UK. So because it's a global firm, or a lot of them are global firms, you're able to connect to people on the other side with, like, internally, right? So it's easy to move in the firm. So it does get a bit trickier, not impossible, but it does get trickier if you're trying to move, let's say, from a Deloitte to a KPMG, for example, right? Because obviously you have to have those people on the other side vouching for you. And if they don't know you or don't know anyone that they can ask about you, then it becomes a bit trickier. If you're working for like a more niche, like smaller consulting firm, it's not as easy. But if you're working for the big fours or the MBBs, listen, going abroad is much easier.
Okay, I hope everyone's happy with that, because I know they want to know, can we
stamp the passport?
Can we? And she's answered it.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then I wanted to ask you, how do you stay authentically real in your pursuit of life, your career, your faith? How do you stay rooted? How do you stay authentically real in everything that you do?
Knowing who you are and whose you are.
I love the whose you are.
You are a royal priesthood. God knew you before he even formed you in your mother's womb. And when you know your identity in, for me it's Christ. Obviously, we all have different beliefs. But when you know who your creator is, and what he put you on this earth for, and that obviously look at your passions and your, you know, what you love. When you know that, you're able to stay in your lane. Right? When you know that you're someone who loves helping communities, that's the lane you're on. Don't now look at fashion and then, you know. So own lane, own pace, knowing whose you are and who you are in whose you are. Right? So for me that answer will always be faith-based, because I that is my true north. That's where I find my identity. That's what I'm built on.
So much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Sharing so much about management consulting, just even the little nugget you just dropped now, whose you are. Don't forget whose you are. Powerful, absolutely powerful. But thank you so much for being a guest on my channel. I know I've been MIA, but thank you so much for being a guest on my channel and just sharing and imparting knowledge. Guys, please check out Rorisang's channel. Please check out her blog. I know she has not posted, but please check her out on all her social media platforms. Also, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
It's very important.
Absolutely. And please don't forget to check out the verse of the week. And don't forget to be authentically real.